Hi everyone, this is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike, but that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode. This is a belated review on the Fujifilm XS-1, which was their super zoom camera, kind of premium super zoom that was introduced I think in 2012, and this is 2014. So why would I be reviewing a camera that is approximately 2 years old? Well, because when this camera was first introduced, it was about $800, and now you can get it for under $350. Wow, that's the savings. So let's talk about it. Well, first of all, it has this really nice zoom mechanism like you'd have on a DSLR, where you kind of rotate instead of using a little lever, and this zooms out to an equivalent of 624 millimeters. That's what it would be if this was like a full frame 35 millimeter camera. And it goes down to 24 millimeters equivalent, which is reasonably wide. So you go from a nice wide angle to a 26 times or so zoom, high quality lens, and relatively fast. So a lot of super zoom cameras out there have lenses that aren't that fast. This one starts out at its wide angle at f2.8, and even at a 600 and some millimeter range, it's 5.6. So that's actually a lot faster than the typical consumer zooms that you would get on a DSLR. And speaking of DSLRs, the construction of this camera is comparable, if not better, than most entry-level DSLRs. It's incredibly solidly built. Even little things like the SD card has its own little compartment instead of being shoved in the battery compartment. Everything about this camera feels quality. Fuji has, and a lot of their cameras, has this beautiful kind of black, almost lacquer-like finish, which is just gorgeous, and you can just see it looks really nice. As far as the camera is concerned, it has an EVF that is very high resolution. It has a very nice high resolution rear screen, which is tiltable in a variety of different directions, and you can just see that there are tons of controls on both sides and customizable controls on top, so you can use it in full manual mode, but you can also, that's by the way a cat's tail here, cat tail. So you can do a lot of customizable things just like you would do with a DSLR. And in fact, this has a lot of features that you wouldn't find in an entry-level DSLR, like an electronic level meter inside, so you don't make your pictures crooked. Here's a hot shoe and a flash, just about anything you would ever want. Now, what's the difference between this and a DSLR? Well, of course, besides the electronic viewfinder, the sensor in here is a 2/3 sensor, which means that it's roughly twice as big as what you see in your typical compact camera and considerably smaller than what you would see in a DSLR. And so that's going to affect your dynamic range, and it's also going to affect your low light performance, although both are quite good with this camera. So with this camera, I would say that the pictures, like most Fuji cameras, I have this kind of love dislike with Fuji. So I actually have a couple Fuji cameras, and I often use them, and I just love them for their quality of construction, and I really like this kind of lacquery finish that they have, and I think they're just really pretty cameras. And I also think that very often they just take outstanding pictures. So what's my quibble with Fuji cameras, including this one? Sometimes they just don't seem to get the focus quite right. Even when they blink green and everything should be in focus, they're not. It just seems like they're a little bit off. The focus is just a little bit off. Most of the times they get it right. Sometimes they don't. And so that's a quibble. On this particular camera, another quibble would be its video performance, where I felt that even though I think it does 1080p at 30 frames a second, I think it's P instead of I, but the problem is that it looks very underexposed, and there's no way that I know of, I even read the manual, to correct that. So you have to kind of correct it in post-production, turning up the gain, and even that doesn't do such a good job. So I would not say that this is a good video camera for indoor use, but as a still camera, it does a really good job. And Fuji's kind of claim to fame is it has its own little sensor that you can exploit using the EXR mode, where it actually can combine pixels to make a smaller resolution image but larger pixel size, and so you can get squeeze out some better low light performance out of it. This is a 12 megapixel sensor, and doing ISO tests with it, I would say that you can use it acceptably up to an ISO of 3200, although probably a little bit less will give you a cleaner image and a little more dynamic range, but 3200 looks pretty good. If you go into the extended ranges like 6400 and beyond, I'd say personally for me, unless I was really desperate, I don't think I would use those high ISOs on this particular camera. They just don't look that good. Unlike a lot of DSLRs, this does have excellent macro functioning, so you can get really close with the camera. And so really this is an all-in-one package. Good construction, super zoom, relatively fast lens, good macro capabilities, the ability to use it in manual mode, hot shoe, all the kinds of things that you would want in a very, very nice camera. And really at that $350 price point, an outstanding, outstanding value. Now, is this my favorite super zoom camera? I would say no. My favorite super zoom camera is the Panasonic, and I always say the wrong letter, but I'm going to try really hard this time, FZ200. The FZ200 doesn't have as good construction. I think it has a little bit more modern processor, so even though the chip is about half the size of the chip in here, the imaging chip, the high ISO images look pretty good, and its claim to fame is it has a constant f2.8 zoom all the way out to that 600 plus range. So that's what really sells me on the Panasonic camera. But I think this is an awesome camera at an awesome price. You will not be disappointed with it unless you want to use it for indoor movies, and I highly recommend it. So if you get some time, please give my podcast a listen. It's called Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. You can find it on iTunes and other podcatching sites. And as always, have a great day and keep shooting.